Today I'm with Paris, Coventry rock legends, and I'm here to talk to them about their music, their whole career, the story of Paris, and hopefully it's going to be great. So,
yeah, sure.
First, I'd like to ask. First thing I'd like to ask, is for you to all to introduce yourselves.
Okie dokie, I'm Tim, I'm the keyboard player and backing vocals and half of the songwriting team.
I'm Steve. I wanted to play keyboards, but I discovered there are 8 notes and I've only got 10 fingers, so I took up the guitar instead.
Hi, I'm Pat, I'm lead vocalist and play claves.
Hi, I'm Clive, and with Tim I was the other half of the songwriting team.
Hi, I'm Danny and I hit some drums.
Hi, I'm Fran, and Danny hits the drums really, really well. and I play bass guitar.
I'd like a few other things.
And a few other things.
I'd like to ask you all individually about your formative influences, your musical or otherwise. You know, what sort of informed you when you were growing up and influenced you, or maybe what helped you sort of want to take up an instrument.
Okay, well, I sort of love film music, and one of my favourite films of all time is Oliver, and I think it's absolutely fantastic, so I really wanted to dance and all that sort of thing, but I've got the wrong figure, so I took up playing bass guitar instead. But musical influences are going to be Led Zeppelin, Black Sabbath, all that sort of stuff from the sort of 70s era, which was great, and it still is.
Anybody else?
Yeah, I started off with rock and roll and the Beatles, and that's what inspired me to get my first guitar, which my granddad bought me when I was 10.
Yeah. I was sort of inspired by the Beatles as well. I wanted to be a drummer, but I didn't have the physique for it.
Or the drums.
And the first instrument I had was a Ringo Starr drum kit, which lasted one day. It fell over and broke because it was made of plastic. And it was just a case of going from there. My dad was a singer, and never really knew an awful lot about what he did or what he was like or whatever, but I was always into music and went on from there. A bit like Francis, I was into things like Black Sabbath, Deep Purple, all the prog rock stuff, Supertramp and all those sorts of people, and it just went on from there.
Well, when I was very young, I was in the cathedral choir, so I had a sort of growing up with classical music and that sort of stuff. And then in my teens, it was sort of very much like sort of 60s pop and so on. I also got very interested in 60s TV theme tunes, which I used to like picking up on the piano.
Yeah, can you remember that?
Do you remember that? The Saint?
Yeah,
and various others, but that'll do for now. I think they get the idea, Patrick.
Yes.
Thank you. So that was sort of what got me into music, and I like the idea of trying to make songs up. And then when I went to college, that's when I sort of got introduced really to Yes and Genesis and those sort of people, which I very much liked. So very, very broad span of influences. And of course it was while I was at school that I met Mr. Clive Barnwell, no less. And we found a mutual interest in songwriting.
Constable and Barnwell, the CBBBs.
Something like that. So, it all kind of grew from there, really.
Yeah, well, I always had a piano in the house. Always had a piano in the house. Had huge influence by my father, really, who played in shows, all sorts of things like that, and listened to music from the 20s, the 30s, the 40s. So my influences were quite huge, and they still are now. And I'm beginning to go back into classical music again, which is really good. But I enjoyed the period when we worked together, when I met Tim at school, and it was sort of, it happened, I don't know how it happened, but it just happened, really.
No, I can't really remember our first meeting, but it all seemed very sort of adventurous in a way, didn't it?
Schoolboys, indeed.
I was kind of more inclined to the music side, and you were more inclined to the word side, but we did a lot of crossover.
Yeah.
And we're experimenting with things and messing about with words and all sorts of stuff.
I mean, we have different sort of personas that we like to work under. One of them being the aliens. That we
Right.
write, science fiction music.
Mhm.
That was that was fun.
Hence.
And we did sort of some silly songs as the Burt Smith Band.
Ah, yes.
Was that the Rockford Files theme tune?
No, that was a Hassel Hestra Orchestra.
Oh,
Hassel
Hestra
Hestra.
Orchestra.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so
Bizarre, bizarre.
so in a way, the music that Paris ended up doing was very much sort of one stream of our writing. But I mean, we even had a go at a rock opera,
Yeah.
didn't we?
Yes, we did.
Say no more about that.
Nothing else.
No, it was very
Was
good.
it that good?
It was very good, but it was on reel to reel, and
And the reel ran out.
and
Yeah.
I can't play it.
Well,
anymore.
rock operas were about 4 hours long.
Yeah,
Normally, so.
and they only had
Yeah.
an 80-second
But
tape.
What about you, Danny?
Surrounded by music as a little one. My dad played the drums. I picked up his sticks when I was a little one and
And he said,
ended up
"Dan,
playing the
put those
drums, I
back."
guess. Influences, Beatles, like the guys said. Probably Elvis Presley's drummer, a guy called Ronnie Tutt. Big influence. But also Steve Gadd. If anybody remembers a song called 50 Ways to Leave Your Lover, it's that kind of military rhythm crossed with funk kind
That
of.
was Paul Simon, wasn't it?
Yep. Surrounded by music all the time, and it's just a natural thing to go into music.
And then we all met each other and it went downhill.
So how did you guys meet?
I spotted an advert in the Evening Telegraph of a band that was looking for original material, and so I answered that, and Clive and I went along to, I suppose you could call it an audition, and that was with Drops of Brandy, and they quite liked our material, but they kind of also seemed more interested in me as a keyboard player, and I wasn't in a band or anything at the time. I really thought I wasn't sort of good enough for anything like that. But I ended up joining a band called Blaze for a bit, and that kind of gave me a taste for it. And when Drops of Brandy eventually got back in touch and said, come and join us as keyboard player, and so that's how I got into Drops of Brandy. And I think you joined about the same time.
I did,
didn't you?
yeah. I was dragged out of studentship under the threat of death. They said,
I could believe that with the Hart
I
Brothers.
answered a sort of strange advert. It said, band looking for guitarists. So I, on the off chance, rang up and they said, our guitarist is leaving, we need somebody to start next Wednesday. Can you learn 15 songs in a week? So that was the trial.
Yeah, but did you?
Well, I learned 14, the 15th was a bit iffy. But yeah, did
So
it.
were you gigging, basically?
Yeah, 4 nights a week in Derby. We travelled at 4 nights a week to Derby.
We were the house band in a big Bailey's club in
Supported
Derby.
Shawadawadi. That was a...
Yeah, they used to have sort
Olive
of
and
top
Stardust.
name guests on Fridays and Saturdays.
What was
All the top riff-raff, yeah.
what was the sound of the band? For Drops of that brand?
Oh, very
Was it completely different? to Paris?
club disco, yeah,
It's like
yeah.
covers.
And it was
But
all
It
covers.
was good. We did 4-part harmonies, everything from the Eagles to the latest soul stuff in the charts. Bit of everything really, but it was all charts orientated, latest charts.
Yeah.
So how did this sort of go into the sort of Paris period? The formation and everything.
Wow. We got fed up with Drops of Brandy for various reasons, which, for political reasons, shall remain anonymous.
Oh, I don't know. I think we can go into.
Yeah, we were ripped off, so we...
Yeah, basically we were doing all this work. We were seeing virtually no money from it. There was that kind of behind-the-scenes promise of doing original music, and we never learnt a thing. Not even stuff that Clive and I wrote. Actually, the lead singer decided that he could write a song. We actually started learning one of his songs.
Yeah, it was quite good too.
And so Ted, who was the drummer in Drops of Brandy,
Yeah.
and Steve and myself, I can't exactly how we conspired to get together to do it, but we eventually decided that
it was easy.
wanted to
Ted
leave.
one night did a gig and he said, without quoting to directly, I've had a bleep enough of this, I'm not doing any more gigs with this show, a bleep. And he left and we followed.
Doesn't sound like Ted at all.
Was it like a complete relief to do, you know, your own material, and you know, you've got this creative outlet? Was it a completely different feeling?
Absolutely.
Yeah, we took about a year, didn't we, just rehearsing? Because
That's right.
what we had was Tim and Clive's stuff, which was basically just written on the piano with vocals. So it was a matter of completely building it from scratch, really. And a lot of it is very similar to the original, but I'm sure you agree that a lot of it is completely different from the original.
Well, yeah, I mean,
different slant and a different feel.
On a
different
piano,
tempo.
you can only sort of sketch out, you know, how the music should be. Although we did do a little bit of sort of multi-tracking with some of our work, as it were.
Yeah.
Bouncing
stuff around on your little Sony.
That's right. Yeah.
Stuff.
Yeah.
2-track.
Track to track.
Bounce.
Yeah. All in
It's like a
glorious
bloody bouncy
living
castle.
mono.
So you say you rehearsed for a year. Why a year? Some bands, they will sort of rehearse for a matter of weeks and then they're out gigging. Was it you really wanted an absolutely disciplined sound, and when you get out there, you're kind of fully formed as a group? Was there actual reasoning sort of behind it?
That was the logic. Yeah, we wanted to be perfect.
Because it was a very different thing, really, putting together an original piece of music to sort of learning like a cover song. Because with the cover song, you've got the record and you can learn the parts off it, and so that can be done quite quickly. But when you're doing original music, then you've got to come up with ideas, and you've got to let everyone say those ideas are rubbish until you come up with an idea that everyone thinks is all right. You know.
Well, we weren't that tactless. We'd say, "Do you think we could do this slightly differently?"
Well,
No,
yes.
that's
We're all
rubbish.
quite polite.
Just
A degree of
give it a
sort of
different
compromise,
name and a different
basically.
Yeah.
Well, I wouldn't even use the word compromise. It was being creative, you know, like sort of trying something that didn't quite work. Let's try something else. Oh, that might spark off a bass line, and
That's right.
that might spark off a drum pattern, and until it all sort of formed together. So it does take a lot longer to do that. But how did we actually meet Danny?
Right,
We put an ad in the Cove Telegraph, and we had about 3 or 4 people
Oh, we did.
answer, and
And
we
we had-
dismissed 2, and
We had some rehearsals at the
Red House.
the Red House in
Yeah.
Stony Stanton Road or wherever it was.
That's where I came for the audition.
Yeah.
That's right, it's now a housing estate, isn't
And
it?
we
Masonette.
really liked Danny, but he was too quiet, and we had to tell him, can you play any louder?
Yeah.
bigger six.
You know, can you get me thicker sticks or whatever, or a couple of broom handles?
Well, I remember coming to that audition because
Yeah.
Rob was playing with you when I came in,
That's right.
and then I had a play with you, and it all felt very, very nice.
It did.
They did.
And
And the
then Tim played a song on the piano called "You're Just There," and it was just amazing. I've never seen anyone
Just remember that.
throw themselves into a song so much. It just blew me away.
Did you
Good
get
days.
quite a local following as well?
Yeah, the police.
Yeah, they used to come to our gigs. Yeah.
Good band. Yeah.
Yeah, no, there was quite a good local.
Yeah, we got a sort of very much a core of people that
In the sort of Rugby, Nuneaton.
Coventry sort of area,
Birmingham,
and
yeah.
they were very sort of loyal because they liked what we were doing. I think you'd probably say they preferred what we were doing to what most of the other sort of pub bands and local scene were doing.
When Tim left us, 1983-ish?
82, I think.
November '83.
November 83 was it?
Whatever it was, yeah, then...
Because in a way that kind of marked the end of Paris as such, didn't it?
That's where he did,
Really?
yeah.
That's when Hardlines.
Yeah, that's when
Yeah.
Hardline started. And the band took a different direction then. We couldn't find another keyboard player. They're like Rocking Horse, what's it? So it was just impossible. Most people in the Coventry area at that time, it was going through a recession, were broke and couldn't afford £1,000 for a keyboard. So
They were
that was
expensive.
really expensive. So we managed to rope in who was my late brother-in-law Keith, and he came and played guitar for us, and that gave the band a rockier sort of sound and different feel. And of course Steve took over the writing duties in the majority of instances, and it was good. It was good fun.
In the late 70s, we were coming into the video age. Did you guys ever get involved with, projects, such as making a video or working with studios that did that sort of work?
Well, in fact, what we had was this guy. Dad was a millionaire, and he was into recording and videos. And his dad built
This was his new toy, wasn't it?
State-of-the-art studio.
It was a 24-track.
Yeah, it was
24 track studio.
outstanding. It must have cost
No, Atari.
a fortune.
We've got a 24 track Atari machine.
It was fully kitted out with instruments as well, wasn't it?
It was, yeah.
Guitars.
Yeah, got Rickenbacker basses.
And he did quite a good job, didn't he?
He did, yeah.
Not bad,
Yeah, it was alright.
The nicest part was the snare drum dampened by a wallet.
Yeah, but was it a full wallet or an empty one?
The
There's no
moths
money
made a
in
big
it, was
difference.
there?
No, it was owned by the Branson family, wasn't
That's it, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, not Richard.
Not Richard, no, that's
The
Branston.
Branston.
Yeah.
As in the
That's right.
pickle.
That's right, yeah. It was,
So,
Lou was
yeah.
the old man and Paul was the lad.
That's it.
We had some good fun doing that because when we did the video, we decided to dress up as animals and various things. Peppermint creams being the song that
I don't know whether we just decided to dress up as animals.
It was my
It was Tim's.
it was my girlfriend who became my first wife.
Yeah.
But she'd
One of
had she'd got a degree in theatre design, and she actually put a script together.
Storyboard, wasn't
And
it? And everything.
said that she would make the toys, which were to come alive, and made the costumes as well.
Every woman's dream.
How do you script a song called Peppermint?
It was bizarre.
Creams? I mean, what is the song actually about?
You used lyrics,
now then.
which were basically, if I remember correctly, no.
Yeah.
No.
We spent weeks.
Dylan-esque lyrics there.
Yeah, working on the lyrics.
Did you write the lyrics for that one, Clive?
There is a version with lyrics.
There is a version with
Contrary to popular belief, there is a version of full lyrics to the song Peppermint Cream that is basically about a cheerful topic. A little boy who was not brought up very well and became a bit of a pervert, and that is basically what the song is about.
I didn't know that. I didn't know it was a pervert.
I thought it was all about somebody eating peppermint creams.
And
I would have never done it if I knew that.
the band liked the song, and we got the full arrangement of it, but there were so many lyrics to learn, and just with the timing of wanting to record the song, and with Q Studios getting into video at that time, they wanted to do a video, and so we ended up recording the song with Pat going na 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 na, and just remembering the last line, on top of the sideboard I'm all alone, there's no peppermint creams on top of the sideboard, something like that. And so the song was Peppermint Creams, the lyrics were na 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 na, and that's what we based the video on.
And it's one of the songs that everybody remembers even now.
Yes.
For various reasons.
Just worked as a flute, really, but I mean, the actual
We even did it live, didn't
the
we?
storyline, it was a combination of sort of extreme vision on Ange's part, and I don't know if she'd had a nightmare or been on hallucinogenic drugs as well, but it was bizarre. Totally bizarre.
When we did it live,
We still have copies available.
Yeah, people used to put their jackets on. But
we had we had a straight jacket made, and two of the roadies used to come up at the end of the song, used to run on and strap me into this straight jacket, because that was all part of the
video, yeah.
part of the video and part of the song, and the way it was supposed to come across. It was almost theatrical, and like somebody else just said there, we used to get people in the audience that knew the song. They used to put their coats on. They used to take their coats off and put them on backwards.
Yeah.
You know, to get it to
get into
part
the
of
groove.
it into the groove. Yeah.
And dare we say, that video is still available on YouTube.
It's on YouTube.
Still,
I was
good
sitting
as
there
the day,
thinking it was like being on acid. I've never been on acid, but I can imagine. It was
great fun.
Very entertaining.
To be honest,
it's a really good song as well. You can't get the tune
To be
lodged
fair,
out
it
of
was
your head
more
once
like
you've heard it.
being on Sonatogen.
You guys were on hard drugs.
I think it's probably as relevant today as it was then, more so. It's stood the test of time, the song and the video.
I think a lot of the songs have as well.
Really,
Tell me about Paris Fashions. Tell me about the single for that.
that was the same time, wasn't it? Basically,
That was very much. We were called Paris. We were doing the gigs, but we hadn't really got anything like a signature tune. And so we started thinking about it, and then one evening Clive came round and said, written these words, great words, and you'd also got some of the bare bones of the melody, and we sort of polished it off and then presented it to the band. Everyone loved it, and so
Another creation was in the offing.
And that was why we went to Q, wasn't it? To
Yes.
Q Studios to
oh, that's right, because we were going to Q Studios for the Christmas song,
Yeah.
My Little Town,
yeah.
and we needed a B-side.
Yeah, it ended up being a double A
Double
side.
A. And we still have copies available.
Did you distribute the single, or was it
Yeah.
just something you made for yourself?
Well, we had a bit of a problem. We were going to distribute it, but we had 1,000 of these things pressed, and they all came back from the pressing plant warped. Now the problem was that we were only about a month and a half away from Christmas, and we wanted to try and get these things sold or to sell for Christmas. So it meant a repress, and which the pressing plant did, but it was too late for the Christmas period. So unfortunately, we'd got a Christmas song and another song on the other side, but it was too late for the market.
That was the idea of going to Q. It was to do Paris Fashions, Our Little Town, and it was after when they'd heard what we were doing, that's when they offered us a contract of sorts.
Yeah. And they promoted it, and we recorded for free, and we did the video for free, didn't we? Which was a great experience, and we got
that got premiered or aired at the Cannes Film Festival. Video did.
Seriously?
Yeah,
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, because the idea was that we worked hand in hand. We wanted the video, and the video studio had only just opened. They were looking for a product or something to sell their studio with, and that was the ideal sort of thing which they used.
So tell me about the reformation of the band. What happened there? How did you guys get back in contact with each other?
Well, that was Keith's
Sad
fault.
story, wasn't it?
Sad story. Yeah, poor old Keith. He passed away unexpectedly. Yeah, very very suddenly, and I contacted the rest of these guys and explained to them that Keith was no longer with us, and told them when the funeral was, and we all met again for the first time for like 25 or whatever it was years at poor old Keith's funeral.
Apart from me.
Apart from you, apart from Tim.
But whilst Keith's funeral was extremely sad, when we all got talking, there was a sense of unfinished business,
That's right, yeah.
and we all decided there was stuff still to do.
The bit I remember was you invited us over, and we met at the pub down the road, and we had a chat about coming into your studio to record properly some of the ones that we hadn't got
That's right.
recorded properly.
Yeah, this was after Keith's funeral.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, that's right.
And all I can remember is we said, well, let's pick a song each.
Yeah, that's right.
Wasn't that a big mistake, eh?
Yeah, it was, because we didn't pick one song each, did we?
No.
It didn't work like that. I mean,
So it ended up we had about 12 or 13 songs that we ended up doing.
yeah.
So let's do an album.
Yeah, sorry, we weren't just through one or two songs, we do the album, and that was exactly what we did.
I got back involved with it through, was it your brother?
David, nephew.
David, your nephew, found me on Facebook.
Yeah, we'd lost you altogether, you were gone.
And I can't remember whether the invitation came from him or if he gave you an email address. Did you email me or something?
Probably.
And I felt quite reluctant about it all, really, because I've never been much of a one to sort of hark back to the past and this sort of thing. But a little inner voice, as it were, said, well, go along and see what happens. And we initially met up in here, didn't we?
That's right, yeah.
And we said all our sort of long time no sees, what you've been up to the last 30 years and all this sort of stuff.
There was a drum kit already set up in the corner.
As it happened, there was a keyboard set up in the other corner. As it happened,
And there was a guitar hanging on the wall.
And you got set
as it happened,
And you got set
And I started doing ding, ding,
yeah. And lo and behold, we were into doing Roxy, and then we went into another couple of songs, and it was like the last 30 years just sort of disappeared.
It's like we just gone
Been on
for the
holiday.
week, been on holiday
Yeah.
for a couple of weeks, and come back 30 years. Nearly 30 years later.
Yeah.
20, at least 25.
Yeah, it was quite amazing.
25 years. Then it was 2012.
And so we went, as you said, back down to the pub and had a talk about all these things, and made plans to record 4 songs, and while we were getting those done, made plans to record another 4 songs.
What
And
did I say? I was trying to say posterity.
Yeah.
that's the word.
Not posterior.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and it was at that.
Posterior.
It was initially very much.
Just for ourselves, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was very much just to sort of record the stuff so that we can say we've actually got it recorded. You know,
Yeah, we've
just
done it
for
properly.
you know, just for that.
Was the personal dynamic in the band still the same? You know, the friendships
Yeah,
exactly the same.
nothing's changed.
Nothing had changed.
I think that
Although-
was
That's why it's so weird.
that was always the good thing at the time. You hear stories about a lot of bands that form and they stay together for so long and then they fall out with each other.
Yeah.
We never did that. There was always, I don't know whether it's chemistry is probably the wrong word, but we always got on well together.
Not to say we always agreed.
You know,
everything.
no, but we never fall out. You know.
There's been just a sense of respect, really, for what each other can do and what each other's abilities and skills are. The sort of respect that at the time we didn't really have the maturity for, or the awareness of, or the time for, really.
But everybody's got better at what they do as
Well,
well.
that's right.
Well,
We've got a lot
that
more
as well.
experience, haven't we?
And just that listening to, you did me a CD years ago, I remember, of the Paris stuff,
Some of the old stuff,
which I
yeah.
loved, and then hearing the new album, and it's the musicianship's through the roof on it. It's absolutely
It's awesome,
fantastic.
isn't it?
I mean, really, I mean, much tighter. The band was always tight, but the improvement is incredible. I mean, you've gone from being, you know, a really, really good band to just an excellent band, really. If you don't mind me saying that,
We've got to
I'm
go.
to insult your own.
No, I would agree.
And the productions is incredible too.
And I mean, I'm sure you won't mind me saying this, but one of the, I think one of the highlights of the whole thing was when we did sort of that little sort of first get together in the studio. One thing we were worried about was Pat's voice, because it was notably weaker than it was.
In fact,
we
he
thought,
said, I can't do this, I'm bloody 62.
yeah, and
Oh, thanks, Steve. I told everyone I'm 37.
yeah, 40 plus. I'd got a CD of vocal exercises, and I thought, well, you know, I'll take those to Pat, and so I gave them to Pat, not knowing if he'd used them or whatever. And I think it was about 3 weeks later he came back and said that he'd had them in his car, he'd been through all the vocal exercises twice a day, once on the way to work and once on the way back again, and when we got recording, it was all just back there again.
Perfectio.
The power, the tone, everything, and it was really was remarkable. Being so scattered, to do the actual recording sessions, we could only come together every so often, and so, you know, we had to rehearse our own parts in our own places, or tapes or whatever, and you sort of sent CDs and things out, didn't you? And so we had to sort of rehearse on our own and make sure that we were ready, so that when we did have those weekends when we get together, we knew what we were doing, and
we still don't.
none of us let each other down.
No, it's all teamwork, I think, isn't it? I mean, there's a few messages really from the story, isn't it? I think one of them has got to be you're never too old to rock.
Amen.
You're never too old to rock. And if it's worth doing well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's worth coming to friends for the tea.
And it's definitely worth coming in for the team.
Yeah, but it also has to be said, a lot is down to Fran and Sue for all the time.
Yes.
Stand up, Sue.
And the effort,
Sue's at the back. This is
I'm here.
all the effort that they've both put in, because you know, when we were coming and doing the recordings, when we're finished doing our bit, you go home, but he's here, he's coming home from work, and Sue's coming home from work, and they're coming up here at night doing bits and pieces, God knows how many hours a week, you know, which if it hadn't have been for what they'd done,
Doing all the technical stuff.
Oh, Sue particularly. I mean, she's
yeah.
put in almost as many hours as I have.
How did you go through the process of, picking the tracks for the unfinished business album?
Purely random.
It's extremely
Is there some
difficult.
hard songs on there as well?
The idea
We all
was
put a few songs forward,
pick,
didn't we?
pick one song each. That's
Yeah.
how it originally started. It was so hard to pick one song.
So it turns an EP
So
into an album.
So we came up with about 12 and we did them in tranches of 4, didn't we?
Yeah,
For financial
I wanted to say,
Payment
pick
in
one song
French.
each, and we'll come and do that one song and see how we get on. See if we still enjoy playing together.
And then the final polishing touch was getting it mastered by
Oh, what were you going to say
Lomas.
after?
Lomas, yeah.
Roger Lomas, back to Roger.
How did he react to hearing the album? What did he think?
Oh, Roger loved it.
Did any of the arrangements of the songs differ? Musical
I
arrangements?
think the biggest arrangement, the biggest arrangement difference of the song was going to be "I'm Alive," I think,
Yes.
and that is entirely down to Sue because we there was just something that wasn't quite right.
It worked live.
It worked live, but as a recording, it couldn't work the way the format of the song was.
How can you dare? I think we lopped about 3 minutes off.
Yeah, how can you
think
dare?
about it.
Yeah, how can you dare was a mega
put the
long
end in the
song.
middle.
It was 9 minutes, I think, wasn't it? And I trimmed that down to, was it 6.5, 7 minutes?
It's interesting really because doing the current recordings, the new album, has been a creative process
Oh, yeah.
like like it was back in the day.
Indeed.
What do you intend to do with the promotion of the album? Sort of getting it out there. You're going to use the more, because obviously when you guys were around the first time round, there wasn't the social networking. So is it going to be internet, or are you going to be gigging or anything like that?
We're kind of working through that. We're starting to set up the sort of internet stuff. We've got a Paris Facebook page. We've got our own website. There's one or two friends of mine that are sort of into the network marketing type thing that we're trying to get a bit of advice from. So I think the coming weeks and months, I think we've really got to try and somehow get that together and knuckle down and really get to grips with that side of things.
Why do you think there is a niche for kind of more established and older artists? Do you think the quality of music nowadays has diminished? Or?
Yeah. In a word.
Yeah.
What about the rest of you guys?
I've got a 19-year-old niece who lives just down the road in Coventry with my sister, and I was talking to her recently. I said, what sort of stuff do you listen to? She says, well, we're in the gym working off calories. It's all sort of hip-hop and beat stuff, she said, but everything else is rubbish, so we listen to stuff from the 60s and the 70s. Which I found amazing. I've got a 27-year-old son.
Has she heard the album yet?
She's heard bits of it. She thinks it's great. Yeah, and my son thinks it's great as well. He really likes it. And there's a whole generation, well, possibly 1.5, if not 2 generations
There's a couple
now.
of generations.
Yeah, a couple of generations.
When you guys formed, I was 2.
Scary.
And I got into you guys, the early 2000s?
So that's two generations behind us who are potentially available to have a listen.
I'm confident that we will find a way, and we've got to find something that can go viral, as it were,
Apart from tonsillitis.
And I think we can sell ourselves as the can oldies of our age still cut it, fantastic new songs from Paris, this sort of thing. And of course there's been not a single mention yet of a certain character called Arthur.
Well, I was going to get into that with
Arthur the Lean.
So tell me
Not Eric the Halfby.
Well, go on then, Clive. You might as well do this because it's your baby, isn't it?
What, Arthur?
Arthur.
Arthur? I don't know. I can't remember anything about it at all.
Who wrote the words? You.
That would be me.
Oh yes,
Yeah.
totally
Well,
your words.
there you go.
Well, no, it was probably in Bengo Studios, and it was probably late at night, and I just knew I'd got a hit on my hands.
It's one of those Pythoness.
Yeah.
But actually, it was a very brave thing to do, to stand up in a pub and sing it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's in a way, it's a totally un-Paris song, but everyone enjoys doing it so much because it's a silly song.
Go down the
in a way.
storm live, because
But
it's
everyone
sort of
enjoyed doing it so much, and when we did try doing it live, the audience loved us doing it so much. So it just had to be part of the album, and I kind of updated it because originally it was a sort of anti-pesticide song, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And
It's an early green song.
Yes,
Green.
I modified the middle break so that it became a anti-genetically modified song.
So what about the future of the band? Is there going to be any gigs, or is it going to be what are the plans for the next, say, year or two?
I think that if the opportunity was to arise where there would be a need to gig to promote the album, then obviously it would have to happen.
Yeah.
I think we'd have to sort of build up a fan base through the sort of social networking and all that sort of thing, and build up a bit of a market. That might even create a demand for 1 or 2 live performances, so we could see about actually doing that and do it very much as a concert situation.
Are there plans for a follow-up album or anything like that?
Oh yeah. We start in January. I haven't told these guys yet. It might be February, a bit late.
Will it be older material or some new material?
No, well, I mean, I've already said the ones I want to do, and I know that one.
There's still plenty of material from when we were originally together to be working on, and I'm actually going to suggest 1 or 2 songs that they've not heard yet. 1 or 2 songs that were written around that same sort of time, and 1 or 2 more recent ones as well.
Will it be just as eclectic, or will there be a change in
I'm sure it will be.
direction?
I'm sure it will be. It'll be as diverse as anything.
It spreads a lot of genres,
Yeah.
but it does have a consistent sound,
Yeah.
which
It
is
blends.
how the most successful albums work.
Yeah.
It's been great chatting to you guys about your music and your career and everything, and thanks a lot. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for your time.
Thanks for coming along and asking the questions. Yeah.
No worries. This is Paris from their forthcoming album, Unfinished Business, and this track is called Paris Fashions.
There's nothing you can do with expensive taste except feed it on money. And now I just see it as an awful waste. You can't have bread without honey. When you found it once, you just can't lose the taste of personal attention. There's nothing you can do with real leather boots that I can do with Doc Martens. It's no good being honey blonde when you got brown roots showing where you got a party. As you stand selecting the expensive suits with particular attention to those fast fashion shows.